to be accessed from. So we'll just we'll connect to my laptop here, and then you can get an idea of kind of what it looks like here. So now my laptop got a pop-up saying technician or whatever, Derek ID, is logged on from whatever location. So that would potentially say Vandalay and whatever the technician's name is, etc., etc. Dameware, it's got this nice little toolbar on top, so you got the toolbar up here, so you can pin that or have that go away. Chat, so you can chat with the client and see what's up, and then they can go on in their end and type and respond back. So that's a good way, if you're not talking on the phone, that's a way where you could kind of communicate with the client. And then you can disconnect from the session. We can make it full screen. Send Control-Delete commands, which is handy because if you do Control-Delete on the host or the host side, or the side that we're connecting from, it'll do Control-Delete on the computer and not the remote. So that's how you would do Control-Delete on the client. You can also lock their keyboard and mouse. So like if they're you're trying to do something for them and they're kind of messing around or accidentally bumping or moving things, like you can lock their keyboard and mouse, and it'll prevent them from doing any of that. There's a view only option in here as well, and that allows basically where it's not controlling, but you can just view and kind of, so like if a client wanted to demonstrate or show what's happening and that's it, and not have any remote control, then that would be the view only mode, and that can actually be initiated right off the start. We just went into a remote control, but you can actually initiate a view only mode if they don't want to have their computer being controlled. You can turn Windows hotkeys on and off. Can show the local cursor as a dot, which would be nice, like if you're trying to help out a client and you want to point to something. It's nice. You can have a little pointer. Let's see what else here. And there's a whole bunch of settings with Dameware remote support, like you can enable sounds and flashing warnings, all that sort of stuff. That can all be optimized. The mini remote control also allows file transfer, which is kind of nice. So if you were transferring files between, that would be how you do that. Under the Dameware Mini Remote Control properties, this is on the client's end. This is where you could set up a separate user ID and password if you wanted. You could allow, different ways of authentication, and that's how you get into that. You could also set port number. Allow only administrators to connect. All sorts of stuff. Permissions, security, notifications, dialog box. So that's all those settings. You can also do screenshots, printing preview. So there's all sorts of little tools that Dameware remote support has. So if we disconnect here, in the mini remote control, you can also control certain settings on the remote computers without actually remoting on. And that's nifty if there's a certain setting or network setting, or something is not working quite right. You can bring up the computer and you can see all sorts of stuff. Like you can see their drives, how you can see printers, so you could control all sorts of different settings. You could see processes. You could go into the registry, do remote commands, shut down, restart, look at the services, change services, wake online. That would be another nice tool that could be used for Vandalay technicians if the computer is having issues or locked up or froze or sleeping or off. That can be handy there. So that's another nice thing about the Dameware remote support, is that you can go in and change a lot of settings without even remoting on, without even creating a remote session, and that could be, that's a big advantage as well. Just a tidbit on installing the Dameware remote service on the client machines. I ran into a little bit of a hiccup on that with getting the service installed, and I don't know, in a corporate environment, would it have that issue? It might not. It might be fine, but what I ended up having to do was go in and create a custom MSI installer, and that actually is something that, for example, Vandalay could set up. So you could go in, and this would be, you could create basically a package builder, or an MSI package, which Vandalay would pre-set up for their clients, and they would have this file so that, if they want to be able to control a remote computer, all they have to do is take that file over, run it, and it'll install the service with the proper settings, logins, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I ended up having to do to get the service installed on the laptop without having Dameware Central Server and an Active Directory and domain setup. So that's good to know, because not every client is going to potentially have a server with to set that up with. So that would be a way that we could get the Dameware remote support service client on the remote computer. So yeah, that is my little proof of concept demo for Dameware remote support for Vandalay proposal. Just going one more time here. And when this service is installed on the client's end, they will have a little icon on the bottom, and it'll say their name, the port it's using, their IP address. So that will sit on their end, and they can see who's connected. They can disconnect it, like if they don't want the technician to be remoting anymore, they can disconnect it. That it's basically stuff that, and there's a lot of settings that they wouldn't necessarily get to, but they could disconnect it if they wanted it to be disconnected. and they can end it. So yeah, that is the short demonstration of Dameware remote support from SolarWinds. I will have together a documentation page with kind of how to get it up and running and the basics of it with some screenshots.